Good evening. Welcome back to Tech Dudes Weekly. I'm Brian, and we're going to talk about I guess, the elephant in the room, which is the Apple event that just came through on the 8th. Nothing, and specifically, we're going to try to talk about the Mac Studio and the display, and just go through the specs, our general feelings, things that we've read about, other folks that have discussed it, good and bad. And I guess the best place to start is to just ask Dave here. Are you going to buy one?
Well, that depends on what level of divorce that may happen during that event. I don't know. Do I want one? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm an Apple guy for the most part for most of it, but I don't know. There's a lot of pros and cons. One of the nicknames I saw out there for it is the new trash can, because of the old trash can Mac from way back when. So I don't know. There's from a performance standpoint, I mean, this thing blows the socks off anything that we saw out there, whether it's the Max, whether it's the Ultra. Evidently, some of the people running benchmarks against it, that it actually beats the current Intel Mac Pro fully maxed out.
I actually read a article that they're putting it up mostly the testing against it, the NVIDIA, I think it was the 3090 thing, and
yep.
there were a lot of folks are saying that for the cost of the 3090, you can now get a full computer.
So. Yeah, especially if you pay some of the scalper prices on there, because the Studio now starts at $19.99 with 16 gig of 32 gig of integrated memory and a half terabyte. I think they could have put a terabyte of storage in there for the $19.99. I think that was kind of cheaping out, and I don't like the fact that to get Thunderbolt on the front, you have to do the Ultra.
The Ultra,
starting at $4,000. I don't know. It's chunky. I mean, it's a big chunky thing. One of the things I read about it was talking about the weight difference. So on the standard, the Max, it weighs 2 pounds less. I'm trying to remember what the actual weight was, but the Ultra weighs 2 pounds more, or maybe it's 2 kilograms. I have to go back and look. Sorry for the mess up on that. But the main difference is that on the Max, the heatsink is aluminum, and they ran on pure copper on the Ultra. I guess it dissipates heat faster because the power supply on both, I think, is 360, 380 watts on those. I'm trying to remember where it went. And then somebody made a joke about John Ive complaining about the inputs on the front, which everybody's wanted back from day one.
So the cost difference between the Max and the Ultra, just to get into that Ultra, is considerable, isn't it?
So 2,000, it's double. So 2,000 to get into the Max, and then 4,000 to get into the Ultra. That's but yep. The difference is if you went and spec'd out a fully Intel Mac Pro right now, it's about $18,000. A fully maxed out Ultra is about $8,000 or $9,000.
That's interesting. The funny thing with that range, though, going from the $2,000 to $8,000, I mean, this has got to be a very targeted audience. I mean, obviously, if you're rich, go for it. Nothing, but if you're looking at it from do I need that type of power? I'm guessing a lot of folks out there, the Mac Mini, still in the range of the $1,000 range, is going to pretty much cover just about anything you could possibly need.
Well, one of my desktop minis is is 16 gig terabyte on the M1, and I can't break it.
Yeah, so unless you're into high-end video editing, multiple 8K streams, things like that, there's probably not much you're going to throw at this. Maybe the AutoCAD, SolidWorks users, things like that.
Yeah, they said on this one you can throw 18 streams of 8K ProRes video at this machine.
Yeah, so I mean that's professional, grade, commercial grade. I mean, but nothing about this screams home user unless you just simply want the eye candy.
No, and the other thing that I found interesting about it is you referenced on the home user. I think the home user could probably get away with just the Max, but Apple's went back and threw out a new monitor to kind of go along with this. They're calling it the affordable monitor, but the problem is it's a 27-inch 5K panel for $15.99. And one of the problems with it is, I'm trying to remember, I'm going back to some of the notes. It's only a 60 hertz panel, and there's no complete specs of the color gambit that I saw anywhere out there to whether how it's color matched.
Yeah, all it says on the specs here, 27-inch, obviously 5K, 14.7 million pixels, 600 nits brightness. It says a billion colors in the P3 wide color.
Yeah, and the 600 nits, the only reason they got to 600 nits was to make it HDR certified.
Oh, okay. I see. Interesting.
But the crazy stuff they did about that is it's a basic. A lot of people are comparing it to a 5-year-old or 6-year-old now display on the iMac from a resolution and specs perspective, which I think was made by LG, because they also compare it back to an LG monitor as well from a little ways back on a 5K for that. The problem with I see on this one is that you're almost, for a base monitor, you're almost the price of the computer itself.
And well over that if you're targeting the Mac Mini.
Correct.
It's almost twice what a base Mac Mini would be. And the funny thing is, and I'm looking through the specs right now, what I don't see listed in the specs is, didn't they include an A15 processor in this?
So it's got, where did it go? There's an A15 processor in it that gives
I'm guessing, for center stage. That's what I was guessing, is that it's mostly around center stage.
So it's an A13.
A13. Okay.
Yep. That gives it center stage. That gives it, what is it? Ultra wide. They got a 12 megapixel webcam on it for center stage. It's got a 3-microphone professional speaker, 3-microphone array, and a 6-speaker array on it as well for Dolby Atmos.
Actually, I'm looking through the specs here, and it says the studio quality 3-array mic and high signal to noise ratio and beamforming. And then right below it says support for Hey Siri. So that would be very important to me if I'm spending $1,600 to make sure I can ask it what the weather
and
is.
The funny thing is, it says it's got 3 integrated USB-C ports and a Thunderbolt port for single connectivity to a laptop with data exchange and a 96 watt charging. So it'll charge anything out there.
Now, I saw somebody also say that too, that you can connect up to 3 of these together.
Yes.
Now, I'm assuming that still means coming straight from the Mac, the Studio or the Mac Mini, or are they daisy chaining these?
From what I could see, they're daisy chaining. I could be wrong, and if anybody wants to correct us, that's fine. But this looks like it's a daisy chain piece. Now, here's the kicker. This is a gorgeous monitor, but if you want it to, if you want to adjust height, you have to pay an extra like $400 for a height adjustment.
Yeah, I'm actually going through the specs now. So if you buy the standard glass one, not the nano textured glass,
correct.
That still keeps you. It's $400.
Yeah.
If you want to actually move it up and down.
And then if you want a face mount, I think that's I don't think that's an additional charge, but it's one or the other. But here's the kicker. It's a gorgeous monitor at 60 hertz, but it becomes a stupid monitor if you plug it into a Windows box.
So, interesting. So I guess there's more to that. Maybe more to the A13.
The A13 is making it, I hate to use the word, but smart. It says, so while you can use a studio display with Windows, buying it for this purpose may not be a good idea. The company also notes that although the display has a 5K 60 hertz panel, the resolution may vary depending on the computer. So you may not get that on a Windows machine. Also, if your computer does not support 5K resolution, video output be limited to 4K or less.
It's funny. I'm looking through the specs now, and I don't see even talking about the refresh rate.
No, everything I've saw is only 60 hertz on those.
Interesting. Yeah, 60 hertz would be kind of disappointing, especially after living with a iPad Pro or even the Pro iPhone 13.
Yep.
There's a considerable difference in scrolling, and whatnot with, I guess it would feel like, what are they calling it on the mini iPad there? Jelly scrolling?
Oh yeah, jellyfishing.
Yeah, that'd be disappointing, especially if we're using this, pair it to the studio, which I'm assuming that's what it's intended for, since it's a studio display. Knowing that, this is targeted to people that are looking to it to do high-end video, graphics, things like that. And I don't know. I don't know if 60 hertz really cuts it, especially when you're spending $1,600. But maybe is that how they're trying to get you to uplift into the what's the other display that they have?
Oh, the ProRes.
Yeah, the ProRes, the other XDR.
Yeah, and everybody, the stuff I've been reading about it too is that I think the reason a lot of people are excited about this because this is outside of the ProRes display. This is the first what Apple refers to as affordable monitor they've had in years since the 30-inch cinema display.
Did they build this themselves, or is this coming from somebody?
So what I've saw, again, correct me if I'm wrong, down in the comments or whatever. I don't think so. I think this is an LG panel that's been put in aluminum.
So to me, the only uplift here is beyond getting a high-end LG panel myself is that if I wanted that camera with the studio, the center stage, display or camera.
And the nice aluminum frame that it comes in.
Yeah, that's it's very pretty. It'll go nicely with the.
For $800, I could get a dual monitor LG display, single connectivity for Thunderbolt, and have 54 inches essentially of screen real estate. That I think would be fine for me.
So I guess the whole performance theme that they put around the event on the 8th there was definitely obviously the Ultra, nothing for other just the raw power of it, which you have to give them a lot of props. I mean that is an amazing processor, especially when you look at power consumption. But again, the audience that's what I targeted to is that who's buying this. I think it's a limited set beyond the true tech geeks out there that are trying to talk themselves into it. Nobody targeted in particular there, Dave. No. But again, it's mostly the folks that are going to be doing high-end video. This is a business-centric machine. I don't see this at the home user level, or if you're buying it at the home user level, are you really getting the bang for the buck? I don't think so. I don't think the home user can really push it unless they're using it for some kind of again video or high-end graphics, stuff like that.
Yeah, I see this in some of the write-ups I've read on this too, is that this was designed with professional users in mind. One of the statements that I really liked about it is that it's no secret this device is not necessarily for the everyday user. The amount of power just isn't something most people need, which I wholeheartedly agree across the board. Most people can get along with an 8 or 16 gig M1 Mini and call it a day.
Yep. Yeah, I would definitely agree. And then you have somewhere in between the Mac Mini there is, the MacBook, docked or whatever, however you want to look at it. You can get a 14-inch or 16-inch and start at, the 1800 to 1900 range, and it puts you in a Pro, and it's pretty much going to cover anything you could do too. Then again, you get the mobility, obviously, but
yeah. And then there's another twist to this too. Is I was reading an article about supposedly, and I've got to find it again. This was from 9 to 5 Mac, an updated Mac Mini to have versions with M2 and M2 Pro chip. What I was reading about that is evidently, so it was codenamed J473. The new Mac Mini will be powered by the M2 chip, which is Apple's next generation entry-level chip for Macs and iPads. M2 will represent the first major upgrade to Apple's M family of chips introduced since the introduction of the M1 in 2020. They're internally calling it Staten. Where did it go? And it was a 10-core GPU, which I think they actually used. That's an A14 Bionic.
This should be based on the A15's 9-core set because the M1 was originally based on the A14.
Yep. And what they're saying is the M2 Mac Pro Mini, these names are just getting ridiculous, Apple had plans to introduce high-end versions of the current Mac Mini with the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips, but they were probably scrapped to make way for the Mac Studio. So it says currently Apple has no plans to release a version of the M2 Max or Ultra chips. Until then, the company will probably keep the Intel Mac Mini in the lineup, which is funny because Apple pulled their Intel iMacs off the store.
Yeah, you can't get a 27-inch at all anymore, correct?
Nope. All the Intel iMacs one I saw are gone, so it's going to be Studio or nothing in the Mini ProRes is what I'm going to refer to it as.
Got it. So as soon as you want to go over a 24-inch screen, you're either in the Mini or the Studio.
Yep, exactly. And then you bring your own monitor to it. So
BYOM.
Yeah. All in all, do I want one? Yeah, I think I do. Can I justify it and still not get a divorce? Probably not. My wife will kill me. But you made actually a good point is instead of doing a Studio, you may just want to get a higher end and probably a little bit better specs, a higher end MacBook and dock it and call it a day.
Yeah, I think if you want to get beyond the M1, but to me, if you're going to spend that type of money, you get the mobility out of it, and then if you want a nice screen, you can still get a nice screen, or you can. There's no reason you can't plug in a MacBook Pro into a Studio display if you really wanted to. I mean, it's Thunderbolt connection.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually something I'm curious because they didn't specifically state that, but it does reference anything with a Mac OS. So you're probably correct there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can still use that display if you just had some more money to burn. But to me, for things I do at home that bleed into that base commercial realm, I think the MacBook Pro seems to be the best bang for the buck right now. I was actually hoping for them to replace the 13-inch MacBook Pro and go to a Pro or a M1 Max in that level and bring it to like a $1499, $1599 price. Because that's, to me, that's the sweet spot. I think that would have sold pretty well. But because I still struggle with just shy of $2,000 for the entry level 14-inch Pro.
Yeah, because if I do,
plus it goes on sale again. Back in February, it was on sale, $200 off.
Yeah, 14M Pro right now is still $24.99. Sorry, that's the 10 core. The 8 core is 19.
Right. Yeah, that's the entry one. That's 512 terabyte hard drive and 16 gigs RAM. So.
Yeah, and I think the 16 gig is actually a sweet spot for that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have the basic Mac Mini right now with 8 gig, and I still haven't done anything that just brought it to a screeching halt.
Yeah, I like the M1 stuff. I like the Studio. I want to see. I may have to give it a year, or maybe they'll do something in the fall. I don't know, to see how it sells.
Yeah, I agreed. Nothing. I think with fall we probably are looking at the M2. They might do another event sometime midsummer to introduce the M2 coming out. Maybe redesigned. Hopefully the Air, not the iPad, the MacBook Air. That would be neat to see. That'd be neat to see in an M2. I think the entry level. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done seeing too much coming out of the Mac realm right now. Maybe through the summer we'll see some more accessories, introduction of what's to come in the next version of iOS. Maybe if one of us are for glutton for punishment, we'll put some beta software on one of our iPads or phones, or I'll talk my son into going back to the beta program so he can tell me everything that's wrong with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I think in general that's. I don't know about you, but I guess long story short, for that March 8 event, I was It wasn't terribly exciting, at least not for things I would purchase. I mean, I think we're going to talk about this in an upcoming episode. Some of the other products that were released in there too. I mean, there was the iPad Air. There was a new color of the iPhone thing, very exciting thing, and the SE thing, which I think my parents would be thrilled to hear about, and they still love that Touch ID
because it's still got the home button. Yep.
Yes, yeah. So I think we'll probably definitely cover that in another episode. But to me, the center stage here, no pun intended, was the Ultra and the Studio monitor and the Studio Mini itself.
Yeah,
But,
I think it's cool. I just don't know if I could justify the expense. I guess the article said, I just don't think it's for the average user. I think it's a neat product, but we'll have to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. I think Apple's got a long way to go, but we'll see. I'd like to see another monitor out of them. Who knows?
yeah, it was definitely a targeted audience. Nothing but cool tech. It'll be neat to go play around with it at Best Buy when they put it on the shelf. Nothing but
Yeah, and
I don't see it going out the door of the Best Buy, at least not in my pocket.
no, but I'll say if one of us breaks down and gets one, we'll do a proper unboxing.
I'll be sure to give you a
it,
spot
so
on my couch when you need a place to live. Yeah.
I'll need
At least
it.
you can bring it. At least you can bring it over. Then I'll get to play with it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the plan. So cool.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on for another quick episode. We'll follow up probably next episode, I guess, with the other stuff that did happen, and talk about maybe what's upcoming. We think usually there's a midsummer event too, and talk about iOS, things like that. But the other, and maybe the next thing we should note too on a upcoming one is, I believe next week they are releasing 15.4 for iOS, and there is some major announcements in there talking about universal control and stuff like that. Probably worth us doing a download, maybe even doing a quick demo online, but looks pretty sweet.
Yep. Oh, and one thing to note too is that we're not just an Apple channel. There just happens to be a lot of Apple stuff right now, so we're covering it. But there'll be more things coming down the pipe. So
yeah, and feel free to throw in the comments if there's things that we missed, stuff we misstated. We're always looking to learn ourselves, and throw it in there what you also want to see covered, knowing if we haven't covered it yet, and we'll see hopefully some more episodes coming down the road.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
We'll see you next time.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.